All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Monday, August 26th. We have I believe, 11-game MLB slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my lean on the side. I'm going to give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays, like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself, all of those plays are going to be listed in the pinned comment. So we were traveling back yesterday. We had a long travel day, so no video or recap from yesterday, but we do have a recap from Saturday in which we go 1 and 2. So we had 2 road videos this weekend, neither one of which we made any green on. So that is unfortunate, but let's hope now that we're back home, at least for this week. We actually have another wedding to go to this weekend, but at least while we're home for this week, let's see if we can lock in and kind of keep doing what we've been doing for the last couple months and forget about those last 2 days we had to recap there. So let's go ahead and do that. But also, I wanted to say that we don't have a ride of the day because we didn't do any while we were on the road, but let's jump right back into it. If you don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Then I jump on board with one person's play. You get a shout out in the next video, win or loss. If you win, we continue to ride with your plays. If you lose, we got to talk about it. You got to face the music, face the womp womp. But the way that I pick the ride of the day is I take whichever comment gets the most likes down in the comment section. So make sure to go ahead and like other people's down there as well. But what do you say we go ahead and jump into game number 1 here? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's rock. We got Cleveland taking on Kansas City in game 1 of a doubleheader here. Joey Cantillo's listed as the primary pitcher for Cleveland here. I think it's Nick Sandlin is going to be the starter for Cleveland, but again, Joey Cantillo being the primary pitcher. Going up against Cole Reagans, I think that you're going to have a pretty clear-cut Kansas City batting advantage, Kansas City pitching advantage. Cleveland may have the bullpen edge here, but overall, for minus 120, that's on Caesars right now, I think they're getting a decent price for Kansas City. I would consider the first 5 more than anything, just due to the fact that this is a Kansas City team that doesn't have the best of the best bullpens. But either way, I think that you're getting a good price for the Royals. Now, I would throw in the fact that this is a doubleheader, right? They play today as well. Obviously 2 different pitchers, but you want to keep an eye on the lineup and everything like that. The way that I always look at doubleheaders is I really consider either taking the, if one team's going to be the underdog in both games, I'd consider taking them twice, just because, if they're both plus money and they hit one of them, you should come out a little profitable. Or I just kind of hyper focus on the first game, which this is the first game. So if I were to take Kansas City first 5, it's probably here. Not the second game, but we'll talk about the second game when we get there. Not much going on there. In terms of the total, I don't mind the idea of a slight lean towards the over. We've seen Kansas City, in this series, or not in this series, in the matchup so far, have some high-scoring games against Cleveland, and I think that, whether or not one of these pitchers gets they should be able to put up, 5, 6, 7 runs, meaning the other team just has to participate, and we should see it over. We've seen the last 3 games between these 2 teams either hit this line or go over. All right, next up, we're looking at Philadelphia taking on Houston. Looks like we're going to have Zach Wheeler on the mound going up against Ronel Blanco. Blanco's last start against Boston did not look all that great. 3 2/3 pitched, 5 earned runs on 6 hits. He allowed 4 walks, did have 6 strikeouts, though. Going up against Zach Wheeler, who has just been really, really well. 4 straight starts of sub 2 earned run or less baseball in 6 or more innings pitched. His last start against Atlanta, 6 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, 8 Ks, no walks. So strong pitching advantage, in my opinion, here for the Phillies, which he's also had some decent numbers against this current Houston Astros roster. In his career, 52 plate appearances against these guys, a 29% K rate, average against of 250, expected batting average against 242, and an expected WOBA of 294. So not all that terrible whatsoever. I think I'm going to lean towards the Phillies in this spot, just due to the fact they have that pitching advantage. Another thing I might consider is the Houston team total under. This is a good, I'd say top 10 offense against righties last 30 days for them. But the thing is that the Phillies have not been crushing righties at all, right? So if you do want to back the Phillies or say back Zach Wheeler, maybe it's a spot to consider, taking Houston's team total under, and given the fact that, they're not going to get to him or his earned run line under, that type of thing. Because again, I don't know if I fully trust these Phillies bats. They've looked pretty damn good in their last couple games, right? 11 runs scored in both of those against Lugo and who was it, Brady Singer, I want to say. So maybe this Phillies offense is back, but just that's a little way out if you don't want to trust their offense here against righties. In terms of a total, I don't mind the Phillies, to get 4 or 5 runs today. So if that works into your team total of 4.5, or say you get a juiced one at 3.5, don't mind that. But the way I would consider this is, like I mentioned, either saying, okay, earned runs under for Zach Wheeler if you're getting it at 2.5 for a decent price, or say team total under 4.5. Maybe if it's plus money, under 3.5 for Houston today. That's how I'd play instead of the full game total, because I see a tale of 2 different tapes for these 2 teams today. And real quick, guys, I wanted to shout out that our Survivor contest is still live, and it kicks off, and I'm so excited for football season, but just under 2 weeks here. You can see you got to get your entries in by September 8th. It's a $10 entry. If we fill this thing up, you're going to have $2,700 winner take all in prizes. If you do not know what a Survivor contest is, it is really cool. You can have up to 5 entries in this one, so $10 per, right? You can enter, you say, hey, make my picks. You're going to say who you think is going to win in week number 1, and, if you win, you survive. If you lose, you're out. But that's why it's good to have multiple entries. I have 5 in this one, right? But the catch is you can't pick the same team multiple weeks in the season. So for this entry, right, this is one of my entries. Again, you get 5 different ones. But if I pick, say, the Patriots, geez, like they're going to win, right? If I pick the Patriots and they win, great, I survive, but I can never pick the Patriots again for the rest of the year. So, yeah, go ahead and check it out, guys. That link is going to be in the pinned comment. Again, $10 entry fee. And if we fill this contest up, it's going to be up to $2,700 winner take all prize. So very, very excited for it. That link for the Survivor contest is in the pinned comment. Let's continue on with these games. All right, we got Mitch Keller and the Pirates taking on Jameson Taillon and the Cubs. This is a tricky one because Mitch Keller has kind of struggled recently, but he's also had some really good games recently. Against Texas, his last start, 7 innings pitched, only 3 hits, 0 earned run, 9 strikeouts, 0 walks, pitched 14 pitches per inning, right? The game before against San Diego, now they are a better offense, undebatably, right? But 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 8 earned runs, 2 home runs, 2 walks. It's like two different guys there. Now, that being said, they're on the road for both of those. He has been decent at home this year, so I'm going to give him a little bit of credit. Going up against Jameson Taillon, who is struggled on the road overall and honestly hasn't looked all that tremendous as of late. 4 of his last 5 starts, he's allowed 4 or more earned runs, and he's pitching about 5-6 innings, so it's not what you necessarily want to see. He's got a 4.2 ERA over that stretch. The Cubs offense, on the other hand, I do have a little bit more faith in. They've looked good. You exclude the game, was it 2 days? Yesterday, actually, against Miami, where they only scored a couple runs. Before that, it was 14-6, 10. Like, they were on a little bit of a roll here. And in the last 30 days, they've hit righties fairly well. 16th in average, but 10th in WRC+, 10th in OPS, 8th in ISO, and 9th in slugging. So I look at this one and I say, we have a slight edge to the Cubs. If this was not a pick 'em, right now the Cubs are minus 105 on DK. If this was a little bit more juice or anything like that, I might not consider it, but in this spot, I really don't mind the idea of potentially backing, the Cubs, and hopefully Taillon can get it together. But either way, like I mentioned, Mitch Keller has been a mixed bag. So if the Cubs have one of those good offensive days like we just saw, at the tail end of last week, I wouldn't want to be Mitch Keller today. So I'm going to lean towards the over as well, just because I don't really believe fully in Taillon. So give me the Cubs and the over. I can see both these pitchers letting up, 3 runs type of thing, and then the bullpens come in, and the Cubs bullpen's decent. Pittsburgh's isn't. I think that we could see some late runs as well. All right, game number 2 of this doubleheader. This one's different. We got Cleveland looking to start Logan Allen, going up against Alec Marsh. I still believe that Kansas City has the upper hand when it comes to the bats, especially because Cantillo, I believe, is a lefty, right, if I'm not mistaken. We know Logan Allen's lefty. He's pitching for Cleveland here. So Kansas City, actually, really, they're hitting lefties and righties really well. They're superb against righties, really good against lefties. Kansas City is. I would say that this is a spot in which I'd still consider Kansas City if they were sort of in a normal situation. But this is game 2 of a doubleheader, and I don't really think I'd touch it. But everything I said about game number 1 still applies here in terms of what I like with that total, as well as probably a Kansas City first 5. But like I mentioned, just being transparent, this is a game in which I barely spend time in the second game, because if I were to play this situation, I've already kind of come to the conclusion that it's going to be a first game type of ordeal. All right, Washington taking on the Yankees. Now, I'll say this. I couldn't get there, but I wanted to get to Washington. So first and foremost, I guess my lean is Yankees to some degree on the money line. But I kind of want to talk through what I was looking for and why I wanted to get to the Yankees here. First and foremost, you have Yankees going up against a lefty. Like, they do struggle against lefties sometimes. They've gotten even better than they were. So all of a sudden, that kind of takes away from the point too. Like I said, I couldn't fully get there. You also have Nestor Cortez on the road starting for the Yankees, who his road numbers and home splits this year are scary to some degree, like really not very good on the road whatsoever. You also have a few lefties in this Washington lineup that are pretty good, but the majority of them are righties, and guess what? Nestor Cortez struggles against righties, so most of these guys in the lineup, like I mentioned, are righties, so all of a sudden it's like, okay, there's another knock on Cortez and potentially the Yankees. He's going to throw a ton of fastballs and cutters, two of the only pitches right now in the last 30 days that Washington's hitting very well. And you have, on the other side here, you have, like I mentioned, Washington, who's actually, or I don't know if I mentioned this yet, Washington actually is batting against lefties fairly well. So a lot of reasons, just not enough. Like, they have the start, but they don't finish the race, you know what I mean? So there are paths to get to Washington today, especially for a plus 160, plus 170-ish price tag. I get that. I just couldn't get through. The Yankees went in a little bit of a drought, but they've now won 4 of their last 5. Cortez is still a good pitcher, and they have the bullpen advantage here too. So like I mentioned, I wanted to get to Washington because all of these had a little bit of momentum. And then when you keep looking into it, it just doesn't seem like it's fully there, unless you're kind of infatuated by the idea of a plus 165, plus 170 type of a price tag. That I get. But overall, it's got to be Yankees in the over for me. I can't see a reason why they don't kind of, I guess, just keep doing what they've been doing, and that's winning games. Like, they're not even overpowering. Yes, they had a 10-3 win over Colorado, but prior to that, they're winning games with 2 runs, 3 runs in that same series, right? So they're winning games right now. I just can't look past them, but I wanted to, and I started to. It just didn't have enough weight. All right, we got the Red Sox taking on the Blue Jays here. Nick Pivetta listed as the starter for the Red Sox, going up against Jose Barrios for Toronto. Barrios has actually, been pretty damn good, and the team has won 4 of their last 5 games when he started. Nick Pivetta, on the other hand, has struggled. Now, he's gone up against some decent lineups. He's seen Houston and Baltimore in his last 2 starts here, whereas Toronto's looked at Cincinnati, the Angels, Oakland. They did face the Yankees and then Texas before that, so it's like maybe Barrios has had a little bit more of a layup type of a spot, but overall the odds are where they are because I think that we still know that this Red Sox team can hit righties pretty damn well, right? So I'm having a tough time getting past that and looking at Jose Barrios to have a good game here. He hasn't really pitched very well against the Red Sox in his career. He's got 90 plate appearances against them. He's got an expected batting average of 290, a slugging of 618, and an expected WOBA of 390. So not all that great. Now, you flip it over to Pivetta, and he has very, very similar numbers, but that's kind of the point being here. It's like both pitchers could struggle. I think the Red Sox, and based on their offense as of late, would capitalize on a pitcher that could struggle more than Toronto. And Toronto's a very good lineup. They're top 10 against righties last 30 days in a damn near all categories that matter, right? But the Red Sox are like top 3, so we could have a little bit of a shootout here. I don't mind the over either, but I think I might take a peek at Red Sox team total here in this spot, and let me pull up the odds for that right now. Red Sox team total over 4.5 for minus 120. It's right on that line. I like 4.5 for near like minus 110 odds, but I still think the Red Sox could go out there, score a decent amount of runs today against Toronto. In fact, when they've last played Toronto, it's been, they scored 4, but either way, it was a 9-4 game, so maybe we look at the full game total. But then the Red Sox prior to, and this is all this year, 7, 7, 4, and then 7. So even when they haven't hit the over, they've been at 4. So I like the Red Sox team total over. I don't know if I want to pay minus 162 for Nick Pivetta. And that's probably how I'd play the total also. Just take a peek at the Red Sox. But if you only can play the full game total, I don't hate that, but I think I like the Red Sox more. All right, guys, if you have not checked out Underdog yet, you are missing out. I talk about them in a lot of videos because I've had such a blast playing on their app there. It's really, really simple. It's a player prop app in which you select 2 players. You go more or less on their set projections. The more you win, the more you get paid out. They have a great deal going on right now. Actually, this says up to $250, but right now Underdog is doing a deposit bonus of up to $1,000, which is absolutely crazy. And you're going to get a free square on the day of signing up. Often they'll say Shohei Ohtani's plate appearances 0.5, Aaron Judge's plate appearances 0.5, meaning all they have to do is step up to the plate and you already have a winning leg in your slip. Go ahead and check it out, guys. You're going to get those deals, and like I mentioned, that's free square. They also do a ton of discounts throughout the week. You're going to get that deposit offer up to $1,000. It's a no-brainer. That link is going to be in the pinned comment. I love the fact that on Underdog you can place an entry and have some juice in the game, literally like that. They make it so easy, whether you're on the phone, tablet, laptop, on your desktop as well. Super, super easy. So go ahead and check it out, guys. That link is in the pinned comment. All right, we got a few more games to dive into today. Let's rock. Minnesota taking on Atlanta here. Bailey Ober listed as the starter, going up against Max Fried here. Bailey Ober's been pretty damn good at home this season overall, so I want to give him credit. Obviously, Max Fried's probably the better pitcher. Not probably, the better pitcher career-wise, and he's starting to kind of come into form to some degree as well, holding down some of these good offenses that he's been facing as of late. But Bailey Ober, 1.4 ERA over his last 5 starts. You got to give him credit there. In his career against the Braves, he struggled, but I don't think the Braves' offense is exactly what they've been in years past. And Max Fried's also kind of struggled. Very limited sample size for both these guys, like 25 plate appearances, but both of them have struggled to some degree here. So I think my first thought was looking at the over. Say this Braves offense is kind of coming into form. You know, they're going to give you a minimum of 3-4 runs, and then some days they'll have some high scoring ones, right? Like what do they do against their most recent high scoring game was like a week ago, was against the Angels or something like that, right? And then Minnesota's offense has been kind of up and down, but when they're up, they're scoring 6, 7, 8, 9, 11 runs like they did against San Diego. So to me, if either one of these pitchers is off their game at all, we could see a decent amount of runs, coming in here. So I am going to lean a slight lean towards the over in this spot. But I will say Bailey Ober and Max Fried, I don't think are going to get dinged up, so I would never say like this is going to get to double digits or anything like that, but I could see a 5-4 game where that type of thing happens. But kind of to the point of I don't think they're going to get dinged up, even though I don't mind the over, and that's just backing mainly the Twins offense and then the two pitchers sort of histories against these guys. But I don't mind the fact that both these guys are filthy pitchers, and maybe for 3 outs each, they can go out there and do it. So I don't mind the nerfy in this spot either. Now, if it comes to a money line spot, I think that, like I said, Fried, he's the better pitcher, but Bailey Ober's been more than serviceable, and he's been really good. And the Twins' offense is by far and away better than this Braves team's right now. So I'm going to lean towards Minnesota on the money line, like I said, and the over. But as it contradicts the over to some degree, I also like the nerfy. All right, St. Louis taking on San Diego. Randy Vasquez on the mound for San Diego, who he's actually been good, surprisingly, but can we trust it? Who freaking knows? Going up against Kyle Gibson, who has actually looked good in like a few starts, but then he always follows it up with a bad start. So it's kind of tough to peg this one from a pitching perspective. The one thing I will say is if we get Randy Vasquez that's good, it couldn't correlate better to a San Diego offense that is, I would say, better than this St. Louis offense, even though they've kind of had a couple down days overall. But point being, they're way better, especially, you kind of macro it out instead of just saying the last couple days. Look at the last 30 days. They're top 5 in a bunch of categories. The only one that they're not top 5 in is walks, and that's because they're hitting the ball a lot. Because they're not striking out. They have struck out the least against right-handed pitchers in the last 30 days of any team. But it's, again, can Randy Vasquez do his thing? He's been so bad that some of his numbers, like his total season numbers, look absolutely horrific. But then you look at his last 5 starts and been like, oh, the dude's been kind of pitching well. So tough one here, but San Diego is not all that juiced. I don't mind their spot. Another type of thing, though, if you don't want to say, did I say San Diego's not all? San Diego's underdogs, I believe. Last time I looked, plus 105 maybe. But anyways, point being, if you don't want to trust Randy Vasquez, maybe take a peek at their team total over. I think that they could get to him today and have a decent day against Kyle Gibson, who has struggled in 130 plate appearances against this the San Diego Padres roster. He has an expected batting average of .311. His K rate's 13, his walk rate's 9, so not all that great. And then his expected WOBA here of .377. So they've seen him plenty. They should be able to get to him there. Obviously, keep an eye on the lineup and everything like that too for San Diego, because that's going to be pretty damn huge. But overall, I can't see a reason why we don't look at San Diego for plus money here. Comparable bullpens, hopefully a pitcher that's kind of firing right now, and then a way better offense. And I think the total helps me like San Diego more because, again, I think they have the far better offense. And this is a 9.5. It's the second most, high total on the board today. So if this is going to be a high-scoring game, I don't think that the Cardinals are going to have the firepower to necessarily keep up with the Padres. If Vasquez even has a mediocre game, you know what I mean? If Vasquez goes out there and stinks like he has plenty this season, we're in trouble, but we should know that, you know what I mean? So we're taking this back in San Diego. Maybe it's their team total over, but I think that this is a good spot for them to be just considered on the money line as well. All right, White Sox taking on Detroit here. Pitching for the White Sox is going to be Davis Martin, going up against Ty Madden for Detroit, who I do not have too much familiarity with. I think he's coming up from AAA, or I think he's already up from AAA, but this is when he's going to make his MLB debut, or I think it's his MLB debut. Don't quote me on it, but pretty damn sure it is. So be interested to see here. You couldn't really ask for a better team to make your debut against. We're looking at the White Sox, you know what I mean? So good for him for now coming in and being like, okay, I don't have to worry about any scary bats or a good team, anything like that. It's like, no, you're going up against the White Sox, and you should be able to get run support from your team, who has scored 5 of 13 and then 9 runs in their last couple games. So I'll take a peek here at the Tigers. What I will say is you're still back in the Tigers for -145, which is pretty damn juiced, but you are fading the White Sox for -145, and I feel like you don't get that opportunity too often. You know what I mean? So I'm going to lean in that direction. I'll also lean towards the over. The way Detroit's been batting, great. And then also, again, you have a new pitcher on the mound. Maybe he gets nervous in his debut. The White Sox would put up a couple. I'm not really saying that, but they have scored 4 in 2 straight games, which if they score 4 today, I think that'd be more than enough to help hit an over. All right, Colorado taking on Miami. It's funny because this total's at 10.5, and it's like usually you're seeing, at least recently too, at Colorado games when they're at home, right? You're looking at 11.5 or that type of thing, and it's like, well, we have 2 bad offenses, so let's take that into account. That's what the books are saying to one another. But here in this spot, I do think that I just like the home team in a pick'em against a bad squad. Cabrera's been really bad on the road. Feltner, who's pitching for Colorado, has been a lot better at home. Still not all that great, but been a lot better at home. He's going to throw fastball, slider, sinker, and changeup. All of those pitches, Miami is bottom 5 in the league in. So I don't mind Colorado here, but we got to ask ourselves, like, we realize we're still betting Colorado if we pull the trigger here, right? Like, that's worth considering. It's like, okay, I get that we like them in this spot and stuff, but at the end of the day, you're still taking Colorado, which could be Looney Tunes. But I do think that this could be a far better spot for them. They've won 4 of their last 10 games. Miami's won 2 of their last 10 games, and they just won 1 against Chicago yesterday. So it's like, do they win 2 in a row? Probably not. Give me Colorado. But like I said, I'm probably leaning towards the under as well. Maybe a Miami team total under, because I don't think they hit Feltner's pitch mix all that well either. All right, Seattle taking on Tampa Bay here. On the mound for Seattle is going to be Bryce Miller, going up against Pepe Le Pew, Ryan Puepa for the Tampa Bay Rays. Guys, if you made it this far into the video, before we break down this one, go ahead and comment 22. You made it pretty much 22 minutes into the video, and I do want to say thank you for sticking around till the last game. Appreciate the hell out of everyone that does that. So comment 22 if you made it this far into the video. But in terms of this game, it's our 11th game on the slate. Bryce Miller against Pepe Le Pew. I do think that there's a decent pitching advantage here with Bryce Miller, though Pepe Le Pew has been decent. Actually, on the road, too, I believe he's had some good starts. I don't have that. Don't quote me on that. I don't have that in my bullet points here, but I do think that I remember knowing that, you know what I mean, if that makes sense. So, yeah, keep that in mind. He's been pitching really well as of late. So has Bryce Miller. So this is a spot in which I think my go-to play right now might be the consideration of a nerfy for sure. The total sitting at 7.5. It's something that I would consider the first 5 under. But you're paying a little bit of juice right now. First 5 under, which is under 4.5. You're paying, I think it's like -165, so on ESPN. So if you can get anything better than that on another book, yeah, I'd say that that's worth sending, but -165 may be a little bit too much. I'd rather say -130 for the nerfy. You know, just don't score a run in the first inning. Bryce Miller's a righty. You guys should know, and if you don't know how I feel against with Tampa Bay against righties, I think that is a fadeable spot. 29th average, 29th WRC+, 29th on base, 29th OPS, 25th ISO, 28th slugging. So you have a team that just can't hit righties against a good righty today. It makes me lean towards Seattle as well, but like I said, this is an under type of a spot because Seattle's offense is nothing to write home about. So let's not get it twisted that I'm sitting here saying Seattle's going to crush them. This is probably like a 4-3, 4-2 type of a game. So low scoring Seattle win for me. I like the nerfy though. But guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, you know what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button as well. We are back again Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then Saturday, Sunday will probably be road videos because we're traveling for another wedding, but no plane travel or anything like that. So hopefully we don't have to miss a Sunday travel. But who knows, right? When you're traveling, we have a hectic next couple weeks coming up. I think we had wedding last week. We have wedding this week. I'm playing in a golf tournament the weekend after, and then we have another wedding and a couple weeks between and then another wedding. So flying by the seat of our pants over here, wedding season. But you know what, guys, we love it. We love the people getting married. That's where we're going, and I love doing this. So we're trying to make both work. So hope you guys do appreciate those road videos. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. We'll catch you guys in the next one. All right, peace out.